I'm Detective Sergeant Ferguson. I should tell you, we're placing you both under arrest.
Are you ready to play?
One of the challenges actually of doing the TV drama was reminding an audience 20 years on quite how thrilling and remarkable and shocking it was to this format for the game show. Not just the giving away of the £1 million, which was extraordinarily exciting, but just that level of drama, which you'd never seen in a game show before, the pulsing of the sound and the music and the dark lights and the stress that the contestants went under. So for me, watching that first episode when I was 17, 18 years old, it was just the drama. It was the drama of it.
And the same for me. I think there's something very simple about the format of the show, which is what makes it so addictive to watch, because it makes you feel like you could do it, because it's just 15 questions. It's so straightforward. Of course you could win. And so that was what kept me and my family watching it at home. Like it was such event television, as we've described it. And it was something you showed up to. And I was too young to go on the show myself, but I would have tried if I could.
Welcome to Who Wants to Be a Millionaire?
On the screen, who do feel very English. And I think that's probably the joy of them for a British audience and maybe an international audience as well. Yeah, I mean, the pub quiz, it's just a huge staple of our national life. Every pub does one a week, Tuesdays or Thursdays on the quieter nights. And what was incredible about this harmless game show was that obviously, for reasons that I don't quite know myself, but it tapped into something inside the British psyche, whether it's the competitiveness, whether it's the English exceptionalism, whether it's who knows what, showing off in front of your friends and about what you know about the past. I don't know, but it created this culture, this really enjoyable, strange, obsessive culture, which we just tried to represent with these larger-than-life characters, of which Diana Ingram, and as played by Sean, was absolutely one of these people who just got hooked.
Yeah, I mean, as James says, it's not a community that I was familiar with until we did the show, and I found it hilarious and fascinating, and also really endearing and absolutely quintessentially British. I definitely think that is one of the big selling points of the show, is that aspect of it. It's such a big reveal. I don't think most people know, in terms of this scandal, that this group of people existed, and it's so bizarre, and it also raises lots of interesting questions about the criminality or not of cheating the game show out of money by forming a coalition.
We got 19 million viewers.
Emmerdale.
Coronation Street.
So it started on stage long before Sean came on board, and it was which I guess sounds strange, because, you know, why would you? Television feels like the perfect medium through which to explore television and television's power. But I guess one of the other aspects about doing a show about something that is essentially an event, and how events can dictate your national narrative slightly, is that liveness felt very important. Liveness feels very important to Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. Whether it's voting, whether it's phoning a friend, whether it's feeling like the whole nation is watching one thing together at the same time. And so actually the theatre felt like quite a good place to explore that. And we replicated the Who Wants to Be a Millionaire audience in the theatre in the West End, and they all voted on their pads 50-50, innocent or guilty, throughout the show. So it was very interactive. And that felt great fun, but the screen version felt like it had to be a completely different proposition, and driven, I think, entirely by character and by narrative. And luckily, I hope the beat by beat narrative of this real life story has such a motor to it that it feels natural, I think, for the screen.
£100 for £8,000.
Something isn't right.
James has an extraordinary ability to weave those kind of narratives into his story, regardless of what the central driving narrative is about. And that's why I loved it so much. There's a scene with Paddy Spooner, where he talks about, what does he say? The bottom's fallen out of the truth business or something.
That's it, yeah.
Something like that. I think it's a more eloquent line than that. But when I read that in the script, I got a shiver, because I do think that's underpinning everything. And so I feel like it was our duty to be really, really truthful and honest in both our portrayal of these people and of in presenting the facts and also new information, some of which we uncovered whilst we were filming, which was pretty amazing. We, came upon new evidence that we were able to include in the show. And so I don't know. James is probably better positioned to answer that question, but my belief is absolutely.
I think that's true. And ultimately the reason why that is true, I think, is because we really didn't have to make things up.
£1 million.
I never heard of a Google.
Google.
Well, the impact it has, I guess it's changed in recent years with the advent of new technology, new media, but it existing as the frame through which we see the world, and the power of that, even if it's a light-hearted game show, of course its influence is huge. And that's why, for which we can take no credit, the conditions in which we screened this around the world in the majority of territories was obviously under lockdown because of the coronavirus. And that meant, in a strange way, obviously very tragic at its heart, but in a strange way for our show, it meant that television as a presence in your house, in the corner of the room, as a means of escape, or as a means of receiving information from the world when you're trapped. I feel like television briefly reclaimed its national power.
Just won £1 million.
You think the gang may have cheated?
You can hear the coughs at the right answers.
Are we going to go to jail?
No. I don't know.
Class is just everywhere in our country, and it's in the culture and the entertainment that we watch. So obviously that's a factor when you're doing a bit of culture about culture, and it's about wealth and about status. And the Ingrams are just fascinating. I'm sure it was fascinating to play Sean, but there's such a more interesting mix than they actually look on paper. So on paper, and actually how they were portrayed in the press at the time, is very upper middle class. He's got a very well-to-do accent because of the military, whereas actually they don't have much money. They're not very rich. They have no permanency in their life because they're always being moved around in the army. So actually they're not this privileged entity that I think they were presented as.
I think the first question I asked you, James, when I came on board was, what can you tell me about their class?
Yeah.
Because the way we are so fixated with how, in this country, with how people sound and what that determines about their wealth and their social status. And as James says, they are very well spoken, I would say, both the Ingrams. And so I was really confused. And it's the way they speak is what I believe made them such easy targets in the press.
This is theft, isn't she?
It's not going that well, is it?
Yes, all right.